It's more boxy, the sound. Listen also the snare. Guys, is finally here. The Wizard Stereo Valve Saturator. Intro, and then we can check it out together. In this video, we will first analyze the unit using a frequency spectrum and observe how the harmonic content changes so we can better understand how the Wizard really behaves, before, of course, appreciating how it sounds. The Gainlab Wizard is a stereo tube saturator designed to bring that analog character into our productions, of course, something that often feels missing in the digital world. But this isn't just about adding a bit of warmth or distortion. This is a true creative processor, guys, built around high voltage tube circuitry, very mu compressor style, analog EQ, and a very refined signal path. Guys, I create this content for you to help you discover the world of pro audio and to explain, sometimes in a more technical way, how, for example, a piece of gear actually works. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with everything I do here. This is very, very appreciated. Moreover, this video is not sponsored by anyone. Gainlab Audio or Milk Audio Store, no one sponsored my video. Gainlab Audio sent me the unit for the video, and for this reason I really appreciate and thank them. So you have the link in the description directly to Milk Audio Store website to check out all the pro audio gear and get them worldwide in really safe way from a well-known local store. So back to the review. So let's start talking about the philosophy behind this unit. The Wizard was designed to bring color, harmonic glue, and depth to your tracks, of course, embracing the musical imperfection of analog. Where digital is often clean, too clean, this unit brings a dose of controlled, unpredictable, that can turn a stereo production into something alive and emotionally engaging, of course. The interface, as you can see, is very straightforward. You begin with the input control that you have here, which sets, of course, the amount of saturation. Then there's the output control, which lets you manage the post-saturation level, keeping, of course, things clean going into your converter or to the next device of your chain, for example. All this is backed by the 𝙤𝙤 indicator, guys, giving you, of course, real-time feedback on how much harmonic distortion is being applied. One of the standard features is the tube bias control, which literally changes how the tubes behave. In cold mode, for example, the sound becomes sharper and more aggressive, while in hot mode, it becomes thicker and also warmer. And there's also a sweet setting that gives you a nice balance between the two ranges. And this isn't just about taste. The sonic response really changes depending on the signal that you are feeding in. Another key feature is the feed control here, which lets you balance the saturated signal against the original dry input. So unlike standard parallel processing in your DAW, for example, this control gives you the instant hardware-level blend adjustment for a very musical and intuitive result. We will see, of course, in the test with some audio samples. The Wizard, as you can see, also features a built-in analog EQ placed before the saturation stage. This is very, very important because it allows you to shape the tone going into the tubes. So, for example, you might want to cut some sub-frequencies using the high-pass filter, which is built in, or push the mids to get more saturation across the spectrum. And of course, the entire EQ section can be bypassed if not needed. This unit truly shines in creative scenarios. Of course, on individual tracks, you can use it to warm up a vocal, for example, give more bite to a bass, or add harmonics and presence on an acoustic guitar. That's very, very cool. On basses, it works beautifully to glue things together, like on drum bass, for example, or vocal group. And in mastering, guys, when used very subtly, you have to be very gentle with the THD, so the harmonic distortion. It can enhance, of course, the stereo image thanks to the slightly left-right differences between the tube stages. Before listening how the wizard sounds, well, we have to know how the wizard works. So let's analyze the wizard tube saturator, both in the equalization side and in the harmonic side. So let's start with the equalization side. As you can see here, we have linear behavior. It's bypassing now the machine. So let's engage it. And we can see both the two signals, the stereo signal, of course. Let's start seeing the behavior of the input. And as you can see, of course, it raising the overall signal because we are seeing, of course, only the equalization side. But as you can see, if I go to the noise kind of visualization, before is more linear, okay, the behavior. After, as you can see, there is more kind of triangle effect because this is basically the saturation that is going on, and we will see later on the harmonic side. So this is basically the behavior of the input and output because we have double stage. So with the input we have the first stage of saturation, which is here on the bias lever. With the output we have the second stage of saturation, which is basically the output with the transformer and with the tubes itself. Now let's see the behavior of the bias. So changing the bias to cold, we can see basically that we are increasing, of course, here all the harmonic content. To the sweet spot is more linear. Again, to the hot is more saturated, of course. Let's see instead the feedback. Okay, with the feedback, as you can see, we are lowering something on the output. So basically is lowering, let's say, let's start again through the 0 here and 0 here. So using the feedback, we are lowering of around 5 dB of volume. So pay attention when you use the feedback that if you engage more feedback, basically you are subtracting a signal, so the clean signal before the saturation of the in the bias section here to the overall output. So we will have also more saturation but just a bit lower volume, and you have to compensate with the output. This has to be kept in mind when you use, of course, the wizard. Then we can focus on the equalization side. So let's engage the equalization. We have here an high pass filter at 50 Hz. Now is bypassed and it's of course linear. Then we can go to the first order and it's basically gentle the cut here, or to the second order, and as you can see it's harder the cut, as you can see here. We can also see with more precision, for example here using maximum 12 dB, so you can see first order and second order or bypassed. Then we have the 3-band equalizer. We have the low shelf and high shelf. A low shelf we can decide 60 Hz, as you can see. It's very, very smooth. Or to 120 Hz. It's bigger, of course, the behavior. And we have the mid frequencies that we can choose between 300. We can boost it. It's, of course, a bell shape, but it's very, very let's say wide, the bell shape, 800, or we can choose the 1500, as you can see here. So let's lower just a bit the feedback. Okay, let's go again to the impulse signal, so it's more stable, let's say. And again, also the high shelf here, we can boost the high frequencies on 4Ks or 2Ks. It's of course bigger because it's again a shelf here. So it's very interesting because this equalization is placed before the overall first stage of saturation, which is here, the bias and the feedback. So with the equalization, we can sculpt the sound and decide which frequencies we want to be saturated thanks to the first stage. So that's very, very cool. And we can also think about using the wizard in parallel mode. So we can, of course, cut all the low end if you want to boost just a bit on the 15 kHz, just a bit the highs, and we have this sort of curve that we want to saturate only in this curve if you want to use this in parallel. That's very, very interesting behavior. And then, of course, we have the pressure, which is a variable compressor. If we can see the behavior, basically with more compression, we can see that it's increasing a lot the low frequencies. Okay? So you have to keep in mind this one. Of course, if I use the noise, we cannot see any behavior of the pressure, because on the noise is a constant level. Without the noise, so using the impulse, of course, we can see that will increase the low frequencies. Now, let's focus on the harmonic side, which is the most important thing, in my opinion, using a saturator. Of course, I have to use a tone generator, so let's generate at 1000 Hertz, and let's place it at minus 18 dB. Let's engage it. Okay, as you can see here, I have this harmonic, let's say these frequencies. Now let's generate the harmonics. So let's engage my wizard. As you can see, we are generating some harmonics here at 2 kHz and 3 kHz. And I can decide the amount of harmonics with this input. As you can see, it's generating a lot of harmonics. Very, very interesting, the behavior. And I can also generate the harmonics, for example, with the second order here. So as you can see, I'm generating harmonics here. Okay? And it's different. Sorry, it's different, the behavior. Now let's move the bias. We are on the sweet spot. Let's go to the hot side. And as you can see, it's changing the behavior of my harmonics. If I go to the cold side, as you can see, it's lowering the behavior of my harmonic content. But the first order, as you can see, the 2 kHz is bigger. So sweet spot, it's lower. Cold, it's bigger, my 2000 Hertz. On the hot spot, it's all more saturated. So as you can see, the behavior is this one. Hot, just a bit more saturated. Cold, less saturation, but more focus on the 2 kHz. Sweet spot, basically we have the sweet spot. So here is where it will sound better according to Gainlab and also according to me. We have here the feedback. As you can see, moving the feedback is moving also just a bit the harmonic content. And as you can see, more feedback, we have more harmonic. As you can see, just a bit more harmonic. So the sound will be more saturated because we are subtracting the clean signal from the overall signal on the output. Okay? Of course, if you engage the equalization and you will boost the high frequencies, you will increase, of course, the harmonic content on the high frequencies, because is before, pay attention, is before, we are not boosting only the sound, but it's changing also the behavior of the harmonics. The same here, and the low you cannot listen too much because it's too low. Okay, so this is the behavior of the wizard according to the harmonic content. Now let's focus on the sound. Okay, so now the wizard is connected to my audio interface, is connected in stereo. I'll use this both in stereo and in mono, and I use on mastering, on mix bus, for example, on drum, and I'll test also on vocals. Let's start testing the wizard on vocals, because in my opinion, it really helps me to get more rich sound on the vocals, more grit, but let's focus now on vocals. So this is acoustic kind of song, so acoustic and vocals, and it's from Roberto Cavalcante. It's an Italian songwriter, so let's listen the overall mix.
Lino di fiele rosso, goccia di miele, palpebre insonni petali, lettera lapide fredda lana, bruci nel cuore mio, treno di sola andata, oltre il cancello di Dio.
Okay, so this is the mood. Very cool acoustic sound, very focused male vocal, and there are also some automation for the reverb, of course. So let's put the wizard only on the vocals. So let me isolate only my main voice. There are also some backing tracks, but let's focus on the vocals itself, so the lead vocal.
Lino di fiele rosso, goccia di miele.
Okay, let's engage it.
Palpebre insonni petali, lettera, lapide
Let's see
fredda
here the
lana,
𝙤𝙤𝙀.
bruci nel cuore mio, treno di sola andata, oltre il cancello di Dio. Come corteccia stride e scava dentro me,
Now I'm working only with
tempera
saturation.
fredda odore, orchidea alle domande non
Before,
trovo risposta ma una risposta, una domanda,
After.
una domanda sarà.
you can listen that also the peaks of my vocals has been rounded a bit just with the tubes inside. So that's very, very cool. Now let's change the bias here, so let's listen how it behaves.
E non è tempo finché è mattino, brindo all'incanto che adesso è finito.
You can see there are more
Chino la
𝙤𝙀s.
testa, sento quel grido, ora che torno a quando ero bambino.
To the cold settings, so in this way, bias to the left, this is the cold setting. So basically we have a more loose effect, and basically it's kind of more dynamic, the vocals, and I want the vocals that be more cohesive with the glue effect with the mix. So I prefer to go just a bit on the hot side, but I think that the hot side is just a bit too much. So let's listen again.
Mi offriva il grembo suo, sterile e pallida. Piace pensare al giorno di festa, uno sgabello là, in mezzo all'anima. Bacio che ruba il cuore e la sua verginità.
You can listen on the mid frequencies of the vocals. There is just a bit too much of the saturation when the singer is talking loud. So I prefer to go to the sweet spot, and that's why we have this sweet written from Gainlab, because this is the range where everything you place inside it sounds good. Okay, so let's listen again, and then we focus on the equalization to shape just a bit more the tone of the signal that goes before going to the tubes.
E non è tempo finché è mattino,
So let's engage.
brindo all'incanto che adesso è finito.
Mid frequencies,
Chino la testa,
I want to avoid it.
sento quel grido, ora che torno a quando ero bambino.
2 kHz to focus much more.
Quando ero bambino.
And I want to also cut the rumble here of the vocals, even if there's no much to rumble, but I don't want to get the saturation too much on the very, very low end. So again, let's listen. I'm cutting on the 50
Lino di fiele
Hz.
rosso, goccia di miele.
And then I want to
Palpebre insonni
boost just a
petali,
bit the body
lettera,
of the
lapide
vocal.
fredda lana, bruci nel cuore mio.
You can listen.
Treno di sola andata, oltre il cancello di Dio.
So before,
Come corteccia stride e scava dentro me.
after.
Tempera fredda odore, orchidea alle domande no.
It's richer, it's just
Trovo
a bit
risposta
saturated.
ma
I like
una
the
risposta, una
equalization.
domanda sarà.
And you can see that 𝙤𝙀 it's around 2%, goes to 5%
E non
on
è
the very
tempo
high loud
finché
vocals.
mattino, brindo all'incanto che
Now,
adesso è.
let's use now the feed. The feed basically helps me to clean just a bit the saturation. If you use feed towards 0, basically you are not sending the clean signal to the operational amplifier. It is a differential operational amplifier. You can see also the graph here. And basically, without the feed, you have all the saturated signal because it's straightforward, it's linear. With more feed, basically you are telling to the operational amplifier to make a difference. So to lower basically this clean signal, and in the other end, we will have more saturation because we are adding clean signal that should be then diminished by the operational amplifier. So more feed means more saturation overall. So let's try it again. In the chorus.
E non è tempo finché è mattino, brindo all'incanto che adesso è finito. Chino la testa, sento quel grido, ora che torno.
There is also a difference in volume, just a bit, and this is also, in my opinion, a pity because, of course, it's just a bit difficult to listen what it's doing, but I can clearly listen that with more feed, I have slightly more saturation. It's not drastic, okay? Slightly more saturation, and overall, I have this more glue effect. So it's more all-rounded or mixed together just a bit, but we are also losing some of the dynamics, of course. So with less feed, of course, we preserve the dynamics because we have just a bit less saturation in the signal, okay? And I like to place just a bit like this, so to have just a bit more of the dynamic, but again, we want to listen the saturation. Now let's focus on the volume compressor that we have here. So this is the pressure, which is basically a volume compressor. So let's use it right now.
Mi offriva il grembo suo, sterile e pallida. Piace pensare al giorno di festa, uno sgabello là.
I want to exaggerate.
In mezzo all'anima, bacio che ruba il cuore e la sua verginità.
Okay?
E non è tempo finché è mattino, brindo all'incanto che adesso è finito. Chino la testa, sento quel grido.
Before.
Ora che torno a quando ero bambino.
It was too dynamic, so I feel that the vocal before was just a bit out from the mix. Is not really present, is not really punchy, let's say, is not so rich. So let's listen again from the beginning, only the vocals before, after, and then I add also the acoustic part. So, before.
Lino di fiele rosso, goccia di miele, palpebre insonni, petali, lettera, lapide fredda lana, bruci nel cuore mio, treno di sola andata, oltre il cancello di Dio.
Is more controlled. Now the second part.
Come corteccia stride e scava dentro me.
Before.
Tempera fredda odore, orchidea alle domande non trovo risposta ma una risposta, una domanda
We have
sarà.
cleaned basically all the mid frequencies that create that boxy sound here, and we have avoided to create this mid kind of saturation on the tubes. So before the equalization, it's really helped me to cut any kind of frequency that I don't want, they will be then saturated. So again, vocals with the acoustics. So overall mix. Before.
E non è tempo finché è mattino.
After.
Brindo all'incanto che adesso è finito. Chino la testa.
Before.
Sento quel grido. Ora che torno a quando ero bambino.
Let's go here.
Mi offriva il grembo suo, sterile e pallida.
on.
Piace pensare al giorno
It's more focused,
di festa,
it's
uno
richer,
sgabello là,
bigger,
in mezzo all'anima.
it's cleaner also.
Bacio che ruba il cuore è la sua verginità. E non è tempo finché è mattino.
After.
Brindo all'incanto che adesso è finito.
It's also more rounded and balanced also.
Sento quel grido ora che torno a quando ero bambino. Quando ero bambino.
Okay, it's very, very wonderful. If you want to listen also the full song, it's on Spotify. However, the full song will not be with the wizard. However, and you can also listen more songs from Roberto Cavalcante because it's a great songwriter, guys. So now let's move to another kind of genre, another kind of song. Let's use this machine, for example, on mastering. And let's focus on something more like this one, which is basically an rap, R&B, soul kind of song. It's only an instrumental part. So let's listen all the way bypassed, of course. We have already saturated the snare, as you can listen. I feel that I need more on the bass frequencies here, for my bass and for my kick drum. It's just a bit too much mid-focused. Okay, so let's start again with the gain part. So let's use the input to see also my THD, and then we'll add, of course, the equalization and all the other parts. So since we are in mastering here, I don't want to go to the 5%. I like to be on 1 and just a bit on 2%, but not always. Okay. Let's adjust the volume. Here I can listen to the slightly saturation. Now, from the beginning, let's add the equalization side. I want to cut the rumble, so let's focus here, 50 Hz on the second stage, 60 Hz. Okay. Now, mid frequencies. Let's open a bit more. To glue effect here. Okay. So now with this setting, basically, I can have more cohesive sound. I can have more bass response thanks to the equalization, but at the same time, I'm also cutting all the rumble, so I don't want this rumble going to the saturation side. Always a sweet spot, and just a bit of feed. And again, the variable compressor just a bit 2 dB, let's say. So let's listen to before and after. Before this one. It's more controlled also. I feel that it's missing something on the low end, and also just not too much brightness. Yeah. Okay, now let's focus again always on the master, but this time a different kind of song. This time let's focus on more funky style, so with more dynamics going on. So let's go to the Funky Flam song. This is from Funkitude, a really cool touring based here in my city band. Is a trio, and this is basically the mood of the song. You can listen, the drum is very dynamic. There is also a feature here with a very great classical player. Okay. Okay, let's engage it. You can already listen to it. Let's go to the hot side. Equalization. Okay, from the beginning. I like it. Some baryton compressor. Before, listen to the difference, guys. After. Wow. It's more boxy, the sound. Listen also the snare. Wow. Wow. Okay, so now the last test, I want to use the Wizard stereo valve saturator on drum bass, so only on the drum, and I want to exaggerate just a bit more to show you how is the capability and the very cool sound of the Wizard. So let's isolate only my drum. This is a more rock metal kind of drum, very, very cool sound, and this is from Pancho Aragon. He's a Spanish guitarist. Basically, I mixed 3 of his songs. So let's listen how it sounds all bypassed. Wow. Okay, let's engage it. I want to exaggerate this one. Listen also how the kick and the snare especially comes alive. It's more open, the sound, it is more focused with the wizard. Before it's just a bit loose on the reverb side. So again, before, listen to the snare. After, it's more focused. Of course there is more saturation, but now let's clean the rumble, because I don't want too much saturation on all the rumble of the kick. Okay, let's open just a bit. Just more character. Let's go on the sweet spot. Wow. Very, very cool. I want to show you the differences between the bias cold or hot. Here you can clearly listen on the kick drum. So let me only focus on the kick drum, which is these two, kick in and kick out. And let's listen the behavior of the saturated side. So this is sweet spot. Okay, let's go to hot. There is more humph sound, more engulfed. Cold, it's tighter. Basically, I feel like in the hot side is more glued, the effect. So there is more, just a bit more saturation, and I feel that the decay of this kind of saturation is longer. That's why it's more engulfed, the sound. While towards the cold, basically we have a dampening that is faster. So the decay is faster, and I get tighter sound in this term, okay? So again, cold, hot, you can listen to it. Sweet spot, it sounds very, very good. Now, use the wall drum. Before, after. Of course, here I'm exaggerating a lot. Now let's use the volume compressor just a bit to clean all the peaks. Before. There is much more character here. So guys, to sum it up, the Gainlab Wizard is not just a saturator, it's a powerful analog creative tool. It gives you deep and musical control over the color, dynamics, and harmonics behavior of your signal. This is not a simulation, it's pure analog tube physics, guys. And it brings soul and a human touch to even the most precise digital mix. As always, you can find more by visiting the product page on Milk Audio Store. You have the link in the description. Again, it's not sponsored this video, but Milk Audio Store sent me gently this unit, so I appreciate if you can see something more from their website. And they can ship all around the globe without any problem, so it's a good way to purchase from local store, at least my local store. So, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this unit, if you're ready to try out, if you want to try out, or if you want to purchase one, and I'll see you, of course, in the next video. Bye.